Stay.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jamie. First off, I want to give gratitude to Ella for asking me down and to share my message of hope, faith, and courage. Literally everything I own has CA on it. I kid you not.
Except the shoes, yeah?
Yeah, except the shoes. The thing is I don't spend money much, and so when I go to conventions, and I'm really proud of actually being an addict, I really am. My drug of no choice is I'm an alcoholic. But first and foremost, I'm an addict. CA, my God, changed my life. Really did. If you've got something I want you all to remember, if you've got an hour, a week, a month, a year, 18 months, I want you to know I'm so proud of you. I really am, because I know this isn't easy. I mean, it's a simple program, but it's not easy. I am gratefully recovered. And I don't say that lightly, and I know I'm not cured. Recovery is possible, and it literally starts with one sober hour. I'm really nervous right now. Thanks, sorry. My higher power, he lives within me. It's difficult to explain. I can feel his presence on my shoulder, and I actually call him in, and we chat. And I don't know if you've ever had the sensation of being in love, where you get butterflies in your tummy. I don't mind chatting with my higher power, because that's what I feel. People ask what my higher power is, and I guess it's butterflies. I don't know. But the thing is I know and I trust my higher power. My higher power brought me into these rooms, and he saved my life multiple times, yet I didn't know it. I'll give you a brief story of my life, how bad I got, and how I found recovery. Grew up in Los Angeles, thus that accent. And I was different. I was different as a child. I did fit in. I wasn't a loner. I had tons of friends. But I was never satisfied, literally. Everything I did, it was to the extreme. I was constantly trying to change the way I felt. And literally, I mean, extreme things where people, growing up, all throughout my life, well into my 30s, people ask me, why do you do these things? And my legitimate, honest answer was, I don't know. And I really didn't. I didn't realize there's two people. There's two beings, right? There's one that lives in here, and then there's one that lives in here. And I would do these things to quiet the one that's up in here, even though in here was telling me, this is not good. Shut up. If you will, it's got the angel and devil type scenario. It's just shut up. I know what I'm doing, which led me into a lot of scrapes. I grew up in a very religious household, so I knew nothing about drinking. I knew nothing about smoking. I knew nothing about premarital sex. None of that. By the age of 14, I knew all of that. And my first introduction was age 13. Somebody was having a house party, and they asked, my older sister's buying alcohol for us. What do you want? I was, saw an advert for Captain Morgan's spiced rum. And I like spice drops, the sweets. So that sounds brilliant. And I liked Captain Morgan's Spice Rum, wasn't the jelly drops, but the thing is I was 13. I'm going to my first, girls there and, guys, my buddies. I was nervous, really nervous. And, Captain Morgan's did what it said on the tin. Took me out of me, made me the life of the party. Until my mother came and collected me and I threw up in front of her. And, it was one of those things, never doing that again. And I did. The thing was there was ominous warnings, to the point where I was in a coma for 3 days, but yet, strangely, didn't stop me. And I just figured, okay, just bad things happen. Didn't connect it with my drinking. It was just, shit happens. But I went through my life well into my 30s, continuing doing the extreme things, and everything I did became progressive. So, if you will, once you get used to doing something, it's like, well, now I need a bigger buzz. Kind of like my drinking, funnily enough. And, so my normal became push. I ended up going to prison for 6 months because what started off as simple shoplifting, stealing penny sweets, things like that, led me to go to prison. And there was a lot of penny sweets. It wasn't because of that, but everything progressed. And I swore I'd never go back because that did change my life. And touch wood, I haven't. And thinking back, there's so many times I should have because of drink driving. And I'm not proud of that, but it became my normal. Again, everything, I wasn't just addicted to one thing. I was addicted to many things, and it was more or less to fill that void, to quiet that thing up there. And in 1999, I found something that quieted the void. Met a woman in New York at the airport, and that woman, I married her 9 months later. 9 months later. And the thing was prior to that, a friend of mine said, "Are you serious? You're getting married?" I'm 33. Annie's 35. And he said, "Are you serious? You're getting married?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You go through a lot of women." I said, "No, something different." What I realized, that woman, my future wife, she quieted everything. There was no need to want more. And it wasn't like this conscious thing. It was just like, I felt peace for the first time. I had, again, through some of my extremes, I used to race motorbikes professionally. And thankfully, my wife actually got to see me race once. And I think that won her over. So, hell, I'll use anything I could to win her. And anyway, so I retired that year. 1, because I'd met Annie. 2, I was getting older and I found out I'm braking more versus when I crash, I used to bounce. Now I'm starting to brake. And Annie and I, we got married here. And I went back to the States to get everything sorted out, sell the condo in Redondo, and it was a real thing. And then to get everything organized to ship out. Now, my race bike, I purchased it from the team, built it into a very special one-off bike. And my best buddy, who I met through racing, he said, we'll go ride. It was a week before everything was being shipped, 2 weeks before I'm now coming here. And this is my first connection to a power greater than myself. It was chucking it down biblically. It was like today. And I said to him, I felt this presence, and it told me, don't ride, something bad's going to happen. And of course, my first instinct was shut up, but this was fairly strong. And I actually verbalized it to my buddy, and he said, oh, come on, could be the last time we ride. 2 hours later, I was dying in the back of an ambulance, and I did die in the ambulance, and so it was almost the last time that we ever rode together. But God didn't want me yet. I kind of forced myself on him, and he said, no, I've got something bigger planned for you. And what I truly believe he had in store for me was, one, the rest of my life, and two, a wonderful marriage. Annie and I, we were married for 16 3/4 years. We went on holiday, and she came back and she said, I'm not feeling well. And we did loads of tests, and I came home from a meeting and found her sat in the front room, and she was rocking back and forth. She said, I need to go to the hospital. Found out she had cancer. And my demons started coming back, because this was my everything, my world, my whole reason for being here was ill. Annie, I closed my business to become Annie's full-time carer, but I can remember she would ask me, why don't you spend more time inside? Because literally I'd wake up, I'd take care of her all through the day, and then put her to bed. And she became paralyzed at one point. And I didn't know how to deal with this. My everything was dying, and while she was dying, I was dying as well. But my demons started, they whispered at first, and then they started yelling. And he said, why don't you spend more time in the house? How could I tell her? I was in the workshop drinking, because I couldn't handle what was going on. And Annie died in my arms, and still remember. And it was 12:10 in the morning, and felt her go. And I just slept with my wife. She's my wife. And when I woke up, I said, sweetie, I've got to get up, and I don't want to. And I've got to call people. Unbeknownst to me, Annie had said to her friend, because my wife, she knew things were creeping back. She said to her friend, if I do die, Steve's going to drink. If it goes past 2 weeks, have a word with him. We lived on a farm. She and I, we built our home. And being on a farm, you're isolated. Nobody had a word with me for basically 2 years. And when Ann died, I died. And I used her death as my excuse. But still, nobody had a word. And then somebody from my past came back into my life. I had to get onto Facebook when Annie passed, because she lived in Australia. And I pop up on somebody's, do you know this person? It was my first real girlfriend from in the States, and we were actually engaged when we were 22, but we had grown apart. And I hadn't spoken to her in 20 plus years. And she came over, and a relationship grew. She realized I had a drinking problem, but she didn't realize only a power greater than myself could save me from myself. And she tried to help me. Nancy had moved to Australia, and Nancy was with me for about 2 years. Nancy's back in Australia. I did stop drinking at one point, and I figured, because I've got a lot of willpower, and I knew Annie was able to quiet those. Unfortunately, Nancy couldn't, and Nancy went back to Australia because of the damage I did to her, and I have made amends to her and asked for her forgiveness. I'd mentioned I'd sold my farm just before lockdown, and Nancy, we did about a year traveling through Europe during lockdown, And I think that was what really broke her as well, being trapped in a small box with a gentleman drinker who couldn't drink like a gentleman. And so she went back, and that left me with my dog and a camper van and no home. I ended up, and I was happy with this. This is progression. I ended up living in the camper van at a traveler site next to the rubbish tip, and I was happy because I knew I was safe with them. They didn't mess with me. I didn't mess with them. And I had a second time with my higher power. Now, before he gave me a warning, this time he told me I was going to die. And this time I listened, and this time I called out, and thankfully somebody picked up my phone. My wife, she had a company. When she passed, her second in command took it over. Liam, I now refer to as my son. I didn't know he made a promise to her that if she was ever to go, he would look after me. That poor man, what I put him through, and I didn't know. I didn't realize. I was trying to kill the wrong person. I was trying to kill the demon inside of me, but in doing that, I was killing myself, my body. And I was taking everyone with me, and I didn't know it. So Liam, he didn't know what to do. He'd heard of AA, but literally we thought he'd sit around in a circle, drink lots of tea, and whinge at each other. And so he got me into rehab, and honestly, that's where I needed to be. I did not realize how medically fucked I was. They could not believe I was still living. They couldn't believe I hadn't had a heart attack or a stroke yet. So what I'm living now is God's bonus life for me. People ask me why I'm so happy. It's like, I should be dead. And I am so grateful for these 2+ years that I've had. Which still blows my mind. Somebody who could not stop drinking. It's over 2 years clean. And serene. That's the big difference. I went to rehab. And rehab was, again, they medically saved me, but they introduced me to programs. My first meeting was Shepperton. It was a CA. And I'm an alcoholic. I found my home in CA because they had a solution. I didn't realize I had a disease, and they had a solution to my disease. They showed me that recovery, I was given this, recovery is possible. It's just one day at a time. So every day I pick up my tools that my sponsor suggests to me, and I live every day. And hopefully I can help others through that day. And then I go to sleep, and I wake up, and I'm untreated, and we do the same thing again. But getting a sponsor, I'd heard, get a sponsor. And it's just like, what's a sponsor? It's just one of us who's been through the steps. And he followed the man before him. All I had to do is follow his footsteps. He asked me to do things I didn't understand, but I did it. And, his famous words to me when I said, why am I doing this? He said, you will come to understand. You will know. So I just kept doing what he suggested. And I did understand. And a man that I didn't know anything about, didn't know him personally, didn't know his surname, didn't know what he did. The fact that he's 30 years younger than me didn't matter. And we'd worked together for about 2 months. And I told this man who I really didn't know, and I loved him, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart. It was literally what he did for me, I can now do for others. And that, when you see the light go on in someone's eye, somebody who only saw darkness, it's magical. It really is. You know, and oddly enough, and when when you're new in, you don't get it, but you will. You will come to understand. Me working with those still suffering keeps me recovered. It's as simple as that. You know, I owe literally my life to this program, to the man who took me through the steps and the man before him. Yeah, and I will pass that on. One, I want to stay recovered. You guys all know the statistics for relapse. We all know the statistics for death. I want to be the one who makes it. Because I know God's got something bigger for me planned. And if it's being here right now with all of you people, I love it. I love his plan, and I trust his plan. I don't question. I just do. Kind of like what I did with my sponsor. And look where that got me. Got me 2 extra years. So I'm just going to keep doing. I'm Steve, and I'm a very grateful, recovered addict. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.